Judy Woodruff.
We did, and found he's on probation for gross negligence. Cynthia McFadden asks, who is your health plan protecting, you or your doctor?
One of Hollywood's biggest stars takes us home.
This is my house here that I grew up in. Right there.
The surprising sides of Ben Affleck, the smart kid who loves poetry, the mischief maker who can impersonate the president to the president.
You know, he got a very kind of graceful, lyrical, almost lilting sensibility. And he feels the pain.
And the romantic who talks about a love that was and might have been.
Who screwed up the most? Me?
Tenderness back to laughter again.
Women sitting at home who analyze these things are going to say he's still so in love.
Primetime Thursday, November 16th, 2000.
Good evening. It is good to have you with us again tonight, and we are live, and you know why.
That's right. Once again, we're going to bring you the latest dramatic turns in this long, strange road to the presidency in America. In a minute, we're going to take you live to Austin, Texas, to hear from a couple who've not spoken out together about all of this until now. The Republican vice presidential candidate Dick Cheney and his wife, Lynn. But first, there were new developments in the story in Florida today, Charlie.
Well, indeed, Diane, the centerpiece of the fight between the two sides and the centerpiece of today's news is still the hand recount in a couple of Florida counties. You are looking right now at a live picture from Palm Beach County, Florida, where they are counting presidential ballots by hand once again. Late this afternoon, the Florida Supreme Court cleared the way for the hand counting to resume, and it did earlier this evening. The plan is to go until midnight and then start again early in the morning. But will it count? In this you never know what will happen next election, it's not clear. Standing in the way is Secretary of State Katherine Harris's announcement yesterday that she would not accept any new recounts. That collision course could be decided tomorrow by this Tallahassee judge, who will rule whether or not to order Harris to include the revised hand counts. It is possible the state Supreme Court may ultimately have to decide the issue as well. But could the hand counts violate the U.S. Constitution? That's what the Bush campaign argues, and a federal appeals court in Atlanta is set to consider that. The justices there could rule as early as tomorrow. The Bush campaign says the hand count is inaccurate and unfair. The Gore campaign believes hand counting is the only way to make sure every person's vote is known.
Before I read my statement.
As of right now, the official count in Florida still has George W. Bush showing a 300-vote lead over Al Gore. Absentee ballots are due by tomorrow at midnight, and we should have those totals on Saturday.
All right, so it has now been 9 days since we cast our votes, and there have been so many voices vying for our attention morning, noon, and night. But through it all, one man has been restrained. We have not heard from him. Vice presidential candidate Dick Cheney has been seen at Governor Bush's side, but we have yet to hear him talk at length about what he and his wife and what George and Laura Bush have been going through. So we're going to get that chance right now as Jack Ford joins us from Austin, Texas with Dick and Lynn Cheney. Jack.
Diane, thank you. Mr. Secretary, Mr. Cheney, thank you for spending some time with us this evening. First of all, Mr. Secretary, what's your reaction to today's decision by the Florida Supreme Court that there was no legal impediment to those hand counts taking place in Palm Beach County and the other counties?
Well, it was a simple one-paragraph sort of interim order. They haven't really ruled on the merits of the case at all yet, so we expect that's yet to come. But, you know, our position, Jack, all along has been there was an election, there was a count, there was a recount as provided for by law. The Secretary of State, as provided for by law, enforced the deadline, which was noon Tuesday. Absentee ballots will be counted. Every vote in Florida has been counted at least twice now, and once the absentee ballots are in this weekend, then we would expect a final outcome. And our position hasn't changed on that.
Understanding your position about the counts that have already been taken, do you really want to win the presidency and the vice presidency in your situation without being absolutely certain that every vote that could possibly be counted has been counted?
Well, we think every vote that could possibly be counted has been counted. I mean, you can find places all over the country where ballots are thrown out because people don't follow instructions or because they vote twice, perhaps. Florida's no different in that respect. And as I say, every single vote in Florida has been counted once. Now it's been counted twice. Some of them have been counted as many as 3 times, including Palm Beach County. And now there's, in effect, a 4th count underway in Palm Beach County. Our concern is that the so-called hand count really has gotten to the point where it's manipulation of the ballots. Given the nature of those punch ballots, the more you handle them, the more you twist them and count them and look them up at the light and get into these debates over pregnant chads and hanging chads, the more you are, in fact, distorting the result. It's not an honest count. We had a situation last night in Broward County when they got through counting. There were a pile of chads all over the floor that had obviously fallen off as they were in the process of manipulating the ballot. So we think that the fair way to proceed is the one that's laid out by state law. We have, in fact, complied with that in every respect, and we expect that once the absentee ballots are in, win, lose, or draw, that'll be the final result.
I want to talk a little bit in just a few moments about some of the other issues, but on a personal note here, it's been 9 days since Election Day. How difficult have those 9 days, these 9 days of uncertainty, been for you, Mrs. Cheney?
Well, not difficult. I think, like the rest of the country, we wish the election had ended on Tuesday night. But you know, we've had time for reflection, time to spend some time with the governor and Laura Bush. I know Dick and the governor have been talking about the transition. We took a long walk today along the lake, which is right behind the hotel we're staying in. So, no, not difficult.
9 days ago, for a few moments, a few hours actually, you thought you were about to be the next Vice President of the United States. What did you say to each other when that announcement was made?
Well, as I recall, this was...
I want to hear your story first.
There'd been the original call that evening by the networks that Florida had gone for Al Gore. In fact, called before the polls even closed in Florida, which is, that's a whole separate issue that needs to be looked at and I'm sure will be debated extensively. So it was sort of a roller coaster through the night anyway. Then Florida was back in the undecided column. Then about 2 o'clock in the morning it was called for Governor Bush. We immediately got in the car and drove over to the mansion. We'd been on the telephone. I talked with him several times that evening. We drove to the mansion. When we arrived over there, Al Gore had called to concede and was getting ready to go out and make a statement, and then he called back after that to withdraw his concession. So it was, to say the least, it was very unusual.
At that moment, when the Vice President called back to withdraw that concession?
Well, he was, I think he was concerned by it. I mean, there'd been a period of time there both where the call was that we had won, when we thought we had, still think we have, followed by the concession call from Al Gore, which was subsequently reversed in a relatively short period of time. So it was a roller coaster. It was hard to tell exactly what was going on and what was happening in the other camp.
Let's pick up now with some of the events that have taken place over the last 9 days. Just recently, Vice President Gore came out and made a proposal saying that, look, here's what we'll do. We can hand count the entire state of Florida. We will agree to be bound by that. We'll withdraw any litigation. The election will be over. Governor Bush said no to that. Now, polls have told us that the public is more interested in fairness and accuracy than speed.
Wait a second. The polls don't show that at all.
For whatever they're worth.
What the polls show is that people want it over with by this weekend. The plurality of people do. And when you pose the question, do you want fairness or speed? Of course, people would choose fairness. But the point is that that's a false choice. The choice is not between fairness and speed.
All right.
The choice is between.
Let's say you can get them all.
Okay.
Let's say you can get them all.
Fairness and speed. Let's do it by this weekend.
Question then would be, why not say, okay, we'll hand count the entire state. Takes away the concern about selective hand counting by the Democrats. Let's say we'll carefully monitor it. Maybe a super monitoring team. Former Presidents Carter and Ford have offered their services. If it could be done that way, what's wrong with doing it that way?
Well, because these ballots were designed for a machine counting system. They're, you know, if you want to have ballots that can be hand counted, you design something very different than what you've got here. It wouldn't be a little punch card with chads that can be punched out of it. It would be a totally different arrangement. You've also been through the count several times now, and we've seen, in fact, that the 2 original counts, it was the original count plus the recount, should have provided the answer. And it's being done in accordance with the statute of Florida, which says the count has to be done and reported and certified by noon on Tuesday. All of that was done. Now, anything over and beyond that, above that, is just an effort to keep the process going, to keep counting, to keep hoping there'll be some kind of change here that, in fact, will alter the outcome. But it's not consistent with the way the system was designed or with the statutes of Florida.
Are you concerned with, given the extraordinary circumstances here, that if you win this election, you become president and vice president, that still in the minds of many people out there, not necessarily rabid partisans, there's going to be a taint on this election?
Well, first of all, I think when there's an outcome, the American people will gather around and support the new administration. We'll get on with their business. But, you know, if you want to get into an area where there are questions, Jack, I really think there's serious questions about the way the media reported this election the first night. I mean, in effect, we had an early call in Florida. The polls in Florida were still open. All of western Florida, the Panhandle, Republican area, conservative area, was in effect told before they voted in many cases that the decision was already made in Florida. One estimate is at least 10,000 Bush voters never went to the polls because of that early call. That early call held for over 2 hours. That probably depressed our vote in the western part of the United States. Then it was reversed late in the evening, and then finally it came back to us. So if you want to look at what distorted the process,
certainly I think
the network call early on with a poll still open in Florida had probably a bigger impact than anything else that's happened.
A couple of quick questions for you. Do you think, given what the Democrats are trying to do in the state of Florida, that the Gore campaign and the Democrats are trying to steal this election?
I would say that they ought to abide by the rules as established in the state of Florida. We would hope that would be the case, and that is you have your count, you have your official recount as provided by law, you do it within the time allotted, and you add the absentee ballots, and that's the result. And that's what, in fact, we've advocated all along, and that's what we'll have by Saturday night.
If come this Saturday, the Secretary of State certifies the count that we have right now, Governor Bush up by about 300 votes, and a count of overseas ballots that give the total in the state of Florida to you and Governor Bush. Will you then declare that two of you are now the new president and vice president of the United States?
We believe that once you take the absentee ballots and add them to the already certified count, whether it shows Al Gore ahead or whether it shows George Bush ahead, that'll be the result. And we are living by that. We're prepared to live by that, win, lose, or die.
Even if there's a hand count still going on in some other counties,
yes.
Are you prepared to say
sure.
We are indeed the president and the vice president?
Yes.
If in fact there is a decision by Florida courts, higher courts in the next couple of days that says the hand counts have to be included in the certification by the Secretary of State, would you now reconsider and accept Vice President Gore's suggestion?
You're still got the ongoing question of lawsuits been brought on both sides, the pending action before the 11th Circuit Court in Atlanta that questions the legitimacy of the hand count process in Florida. And so we'll pursue that if we have to. But we think the right way to end it is to wrap it up in accordance with Florida law, that you can't change the rules in the middle of the game, and we shouldn't try.
Mr. Secretary, Ms. Cheney, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you again.
Okay.
Right. Diane, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jack. And of course, our thanks to former Secretary Cheney and Lynn Cheney as well. And we'll have more on the election later this evening. It's an election in triple overtime, as best we figure it out right now. But when we return, we're going to change topics and tell you what your HMO may know about your doctor and may not be telling you.
I was home, homeward bound. Oh, when the music.
New MSN Explorer. Everything you need to feel at home on the web, all in one place. Get MSN high-speed DSL or satellite internet access at Radio Shack today.
Debbie.
It's a fact.
Dummy.
The bigger the man, the bigger the baby. Thank goodness for Kleenex tissues. Kleenex makes the softest tissues you can get for your baby.
Go back to sleep. Morning.
Good morning.
Where is she?
Your mom will be here in a minute.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi, sweetheart.
Hi.
At McDonald's, we make breakfast hot, fresh, right to order. See you on your way to work or on your way home.
We love
E² from Energizer. A whole new battery with a heart of titanium that lets you take power to the next level. E².
The holiday sale at Payless. Get the latest styles for whatever, starting at $12.99.
There will always be skeptics. You know them. They say it will never work. Never happen. Never fly. But the next time they tell you all the logical reasons why it can't be done, just remember all the times that they have been wrong.
He was the Home Alone kid, but what went on in his own home? Why did he disappear?
Your father was described as the father from hell.
Finally, the secret life
What have you been doing for 6 years?
of Macaulay Culkin, 2020 Friday.
In the last 4 nights, you saw this.
Final answer? What? Oh! You nailed it!
There's one more night. One woman, one man, one final question.
For $1 million, here it is.
The all-new Millionaire Celebrity Edition, ABC Sunday, 9/8 Central. Primetime continues. Once again, Charles Gibson.
And now an extremely important story for anyone in an HMO or in a managed health care plan. Chances are you've chosen your doctor from a list given to you by the plan. But who is on that list? Are they qualified to treat you? And can you trust your plan to tell you if they are not? Cynthia McFadden has this primetime investigation.
The first thing we discovered is it's not easy to find out from an insurance company whether their doctors have been disciplined.
I'm an employee at Disney ABC.
We started with customer service.
Can you tell me if either of those doctors has either been disciplined by the state, is on probation, or has ever had their license suspended?
I struck out. Either they didn't know or wouldn't tell me.
You don't have that information?
And that the doctors I called about had been disciplined for serious misconduct. But is that a problem for patients? Our 6-month investigation suggests it can be. Consider what women in Cary, North Carolina say happened to them here in Suite 215 when they picked a doctor from their provider list.
He pulled my gown up just under my chin and asked, "Does it embarrass you to have your titties hanging out like this?"
He would cut my entire breast with his hand and just hold it there for a long time.
I knew I would never come back if I ever got out of there.
They wouldn't let us show you their faces because they say they are still too traumatized by the man they once called their doctor, Wallace Evans, seen here in a videotaped deposition.
Did you ever say before a pelvic exam, now is the fun part?
Yes, ma'am.
Before it was over, more than a dozen women would complain about Dr. Evans, one of a limited number of local family practitioners accepting new patients in certain health plans like Blue Cross Blue Shield and MaxiCare.
The patients are simply choosing him off the list and have no idea.
No idea, says attorney Liz Cunningholm, who filed a lawsuit on behalf of several patients, that the health plans have been receiving complaints about Dr. Evans for years, even hugging and kissing patients. Yet the companies kept him on their panels anyway.
Did you ever say open wide and smile before a pelvic exam?
I've said smile.
A jury awarded Dr. Evans' patients more than $1 million. The HMOs, also sued by the women for negligence, settled soon afterward, but told Primetime they could not comment because terms of the settlement are sealed.
It took this lawsuit to stop him from practicing medicine, and it took this lawsuit to force the HMOs to take him off their panels.
How carefully do health plans screen their doctors? We decided to take a look at our own insurers here at Disney ABC, Cigna and Aetna, which also insure lots of other large companies like American Express, Citigroup, and IBM. For our investigation, we used what experts call the most stringent of criteria. Not just whether or not a doctor had been sued for malpractice, but whether or not they had ever been disciplined for misconduct by a state board or federal agency. We started with lists of Cigna and Aetna doctors in the L.A., Washington, D.C., and New York areas, then compared that with several resources, including state medical board records. Now, it's important to remember that both companies make strong promises about how carefully they screen their doctors.
A business of caring.
ABC employees get this literature from Cigna. You can be sure all of the providers are highly qualified. Cigna checks their credentials carefully before letting any providers join this network. From Aetna, you can feel confident choosing a primary care provider. The physicians undergo re-credentialing on a regular basis. But look at what we found. Between them, more than 150 doctors who appear on Cigna and Aetna's 1999 list of approved doctors who'd been disciplined over the course of the last 10 years for a wide range of offenses. In some cases, the problem was poor record keeping or overprescribing drugs. But there were also more than 70 doctors disciplined for negligence or incompetence, including 2 surgeons who'd operated on the wrong knee. 6 doctors convicted of Medicaid or Medicare fraud, 14 disciplined for substance abuse, and a dozen more for sexual misconduct. Among the doctors was a pediatrician Virginia Payon selected from her health plan to care for her firstborn daughter, Francesca.
It's incredible to think that a pediatrician would act like this. Francesca!
Francesca was a happy, healthy baby until one April day, when she developed a high fever. Virginia called her pediatrician several times.
The doctor was not calling us back, and so each time we called, we learned a little bit more from the operator. We found out that he was not carrying a beeper, and that there was no covering physician.
After hours of waiting, Virginia decided to bring her daughter to the hospital. And when her pediatrician finally called,
his attitude was, since we had gone to the emergency room without contacting him first, he felt the matter was out of his hands and that there's nothing that he could do for us.
Francesca died the next day. Virginia never heard from the doctor again.
He not only was not there for us, but he treated us like we were, did the wrong thing in taking our daughter to the emergency room.
In 1995, the state medical board, calling the doctor's behavior inexcusable, found him guilty of gross negligence, abandoning a patient, and put him on 2 years probation. But guess what? We found him listed as a Cigna provider as recently as this year.
It's outrageous. I don't know how they're screening these doctors.
Plans do a very thorough job of looking at the credentials of their participating physicians.
We talked to Susan Pisano of the American Association of Health Plans, an industry trade group, to try and find out where insurance plans draw the line.
Short of a license being revoked, a Medicare or Medicaid sanction, or a threat of imminent danger, there will be a review by a committee of the doctor's peers to look at that situation and to review it on a case-by-case basis.
If a doctor is disciplined by a state medical board, why isn't that good enough to kick him out of the plan?
I don't know the circumstances of the cases that you're looking at.
That's because she had declined to review the cases we uncovered, saying she couldn't comment on specific doctors. Doctors like Jeffrey Levitt, disciplined in 1993 for having a sexual relationship with 2 patients and prescribing 1 addictive drugs for the doctor's personal use. Shortly before that, Sandra Brown says she found Dr. Levitt in her Aetna book and went to him complaining of pelvic pain. He recommended laparoscopic surgery.
He said, no problem, don't worry about it. Never made a mistake. You don't have to worry, you know. And so I said, okay.
But it wasn't okay. 10 days after the operation, she ended up in the emergency room, where doctors discovered she had a perforated colon.
I've never been that sick in my life, and it's something that I will never forget.
Brown sued Dr. Levitt, who, while denying liability, settled out of court in 1997. Despite this and his state disciplinary history, Dr. Levitt was an Aetna provider until last year, when the state suspended, then revoked his license for having sexual relationships with 3 more patients, continued use of narcotic drugs, and apparently, while on drugs, abandoning an acupuncture patient while the needles were still in his body.
There's no question that doctors who have repeatedly been found to practice poor medicine
are put on these lists, and it's just a matter of which patient it's going to be that's going to be the next victim.
Dr. Sidney Wolf heads up Public Citizens Health Research Group, which publishes Questionable Doctors, a starting point in our investigation. He thinks one reason disciplined doctors stay on insurance panels is that some companies want to at least give the illusion of choice by keeping their provider lists as large as possible.
Although we found some egregious examples in these 150 or so cases, one could say that it was only 150 out of thousands and thousands of doctors on these lists. What do you say to that?
Even if it's a small fraction, multiply every one of those by 500 or 1,000, depending on how big their practice is, and you start getting into very large numbers of potential victims of these doctors who shouldn't be on the list in the first place.
Both Cigna and Aetna declined our request for an on-camera interview. Instead, they sent letters defending what they call extensive procedures for reviewing doctors' qualifications and monitoring their performance.
Cigna wrote it had terminated more than 160 physicians this year alone, but wouldn't comment on doctors on our list. Aetna wrote that 12 doctors we listed had been terminated, but wouldn't say when. As for the other 70, they wrote, committees had determined that these physicians did not currently have quality of care issues that could put our members at risk for substandard care. The companies also say there can be good reasons to have previously disciplined doctors in their networks. Perhaps the doctors have been rehabilitated. If so, why not disclose that?
Why not indicate with an asterisk, this doctor's been disciplined by the State Board for sexual misconduct, and let the patient decide whether or not that's the person they'd like to send their 15-year-old daughter to?
The health plan may not legally release the information that's used in the peer-reviewed discussion in the credentialing committee.
Including public records.
That's correct.
The industry is either ignorant of the law, which is possible, or they're lying, because there's nothing that I know of in federal or state law that prohibits any doctor or an insurance company from informing patients about known publicly available facts about a doctor.
Who's right? All the sources we check with, including on Capitol Hill, said they knew of no law prohibiting insurance companies from releasing public information they get from state medical boards. So, what does the industry recommend?
What I would recommend is that consumers use the available information to look for themselves and ask questions of their own physicians.
That's what we decided to do. With our hidden cameras along, one of our producers made appointments with 4 physicians who'd been disciplined by the state. We told them we were looking for a new doctor, but had a few questions. Not one gave a complete answer about his disciplinary problems. An infertility doctor admitted being barred from doing a particular procedure, but as for obstetrics, he implied he had given that up voluntarily.
Obstetrics, I was trained in it. I did deliver for years, but I gave up because I can't do the infertility. You know, if someone's waiting to get egg collection and another lady's in labor and about to deliver a kid, you clearly have no choice on what you have to do.
He has no choice, but that's because the state has restricted his license, prohibiting him from practicing obstetrics.
I give you full disclosure.
Another doctor admitted he'd been suspended, but told us it was all in the past.
My license is fully intact. You can check that.
So we did check. Turns out the doctor failed to mention he's currently on probation for gross negligence until December 2001. So, just asking your doctor doesn't seem to guarantee an adequate answer. Finally, the industry argues, even if their screening processes are imperfect, they still provide consumers with more protection than in the old days.
Because health plans do credentialing and do monitoring, they have that advantage over picking a doctor from the Yellow Pages.
Of course, the Yellow Pages doesn't limit your choice of doctors or give assurances about how well qualified they are.
I learned a big lesson, a gigantic lesson, which is check your doctors out for yourself. The health insurance plan is not going to do it for you. People ought to beware.
As Cynthia told you, the only plans we surveyed for this report were Cigna and Aetna, two of the health providers offered to ABC and Disney employees, as well as many other companies. And we don't know if the standards at other plans are more or less stringent. But we asked our parent company for a comment, and we quote what they said to us. As you know, the Walt Disney Company does not certify its network doctors. And they went on and said, we were surprised by this report and we'll discuss it with our providers. For more information on how you can check up on your doctor, go to our website, abcnews.com.
And when Primetime returns, we're going to take it's a change of pace. Ben Affleck, a star in some surprisingly different moods, funny, thoughtful, and tender about the girl once by his side.
It's back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Applebee's You Pick 2. Get any 2 of 4 American favorites on one big plate. Choose from sizzling Cajun sirloin, succulent garlic-crusted shrimp, barbecue chicken, or riblets with a tangy sauce too good for any napkin. Right now, you pick 2. For a taste as American as Applebee's. For a tasteful gift, pick Applebee's gift certificates.
What's this? It's new AmbiPure, the only 2-in-1 liquid air freshener and bowl cleaner. AmbiPure constantly freshens your bathroom and cleans the bowl for up to 30 days. New AmbiPure, a whole new way to freshen your bathroom.
Only Sears Portrait Studio has the magic with our new background featuring Frosty the Snowman. Save 50%, only $5.95 a sheet. Get holiday portraits with Frosty, only at Sears. Hurry in.
Get the power of 3, the Intel Pentium 3 processor.
In our house, movie night means it's Stouffer's lasagna night. It's our turn to cook dinner. Hey, I got the Stouffer's. Oh, great. How about this movie? Oh, I love it. It gives us all a chance to eat together. A delicious plate of Stouffer's lasagna is always a family favorite. It's funny how we all have the same taste in foods. Can't say the same for movies.
Oh, guys, not this again.
Stouffer's, nothing comes closer to home.
One night,
you're looking at the crash site of Infinity Flight 81.
Something changed Abby's life forever. 1 year later,
driving by, I saw your sign.
Someone appeared to make things right.
He wants to give me some business.
Yeah, I'll bet.
You know, I'm supposed to be on that flight. You know that I switched? She's his wife.
The true test of love is how you face the truth. Bounce, rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere tomorrow.
All they wanted to do was make music. Instead, they changed the world.
They influenced everything that I've ever done.
The Beatles Revolution, Friday on ABC.
I'm pregnant.
Wow. Sunday, unexpected mother's startling news.
When you announced that you were pregnant, everybody practically jumped over the table. But with me...
A very unexpected reaction.
You think it's right? Do I think it's right? Go to hell.
An all-new Practice, ABC Sunday, 10/9 Central. Wednesday on Gideon's Crossing, a miracle drug gives hope.
I'm going to cure this young man.
But only for the chosen.
A lottery. We don't have enough of the drug for more than 4. I promised him. If I don't make it, I'm going to die. 10 years of my own work and I can't even treat my own patient?
An all-new Gideon's Crossing, Wednesday, 10/9 Central on ABC.
Primetime Thursday will continue after this from our ABC stations.
Tonight on News Leader Nightside.
A well-known and respected civil rights leader has passed away. I'm Dee Armstrong. He fought the good fight side by side with Martin Luther King Jr. Today, Georgia philanthropist Hosea Williams died of cancer. We'll take a look back at his accomplishments. And what are some easy ways to determine if that used car is even worth buying? Find out Nightside.
On the news leader at 11. Storm Team 9, your emergency weather leader.
You can win this mahogany bedroom suit from J.D. Kinder in WTVM's Free Money Big Prize giveaway. So stop by today and register and watch WTVM to win.
Trucks, trucks, and more trucks. Victory Ford has your truck, and we've got factory rebates up to $3,000 in finance rates as low as 0.9%. Get a new 2001 Expedition XLT from $29,800, or save big on this 2000 Ranger Super Cab for only $13,990. It's Victory Ford's November Super Truck Sale going on now at Victory Ford Lincoln Mercury in LaGrange, 1 mile west of I-85, exit 18. Call us at 888-882-9161. Victory Ford Lincoln Mercury in LaGrange. Hurry, sale ends Monday.
It's not just about planning. It's about living. It's about offices nearby, where long-term relationships outweigh short-term gains. At Edward Jones, it's never just about investing. It's about knowing you and your dreams.
My every hope, my life, my world, it all begins with a dream.
Edward Jones, investing in you and your dreams.
The 6-minute advantage, live weather radar, WTVM Columbus.
Primetime continues. Once again, Diane Sawyer.
Last week, we took a breather from the elections to take a drive with one of this country's certified stars, Ben Affleck, on a journey home to the old neighborhood near Boston. There is something about him that keeps people wondering. Out in Los Angeles, they say he is intelligent, he is intriguing. But tonight, as you're going to see in this series of snapshots, he's also funny and wistful about a girl who once captured his heart. Back before all the flash bulbs, the movies and awards, before all the covers in all the magazines, a restless kid roamed the working middle-class streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Around the corner, his pal, Matt Damon.
This is Matt Damon's childhood home there, the 3rd floor.
This was a street where a lot of tough kids lived. Affleck, just 5'2" back then, was an easy target for their taunts.
Matt's spell didn't work, so I had to stand out there and go, like, Matt! Matt! And it was totally humiliating, because then there'd be like 80 kids out here in the yard going, Matt! 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 Calling out, and that was, and this is my house that I grew up in. Right there. Still have this place to go home to. It's like the last route.
10 years later, he is 6'2", a giant movie star, and yet this still may be the place he loves best in all the world. Family photos on the dining room table. His mom was a Radcliffe graduate and now a grade school teacher who led him toward books, poetry, and politics.
Please vote for Al Gore. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
He even hit the campaign trail with Vice President Al Gore. He gave the campaign glamour. They gave him material. Affleck does Gore.
It's sort of Southern, but there's a little lisp and there's a little bit of kind of, you know, I'll tell you what, we're not gonna do it. You know what I mean? He gets very slightly pedantic and maybe a little bit like he's explaining something to you.
And Governor Bush?
He's always kind of looking around like, am I getting away with it? Do they see through me?
And then there's his specialty, Bill Clinton.
You know, when Clinton talks to you, you get a feeling that he might just take you by the hand. So, well, Diane, you know, we've got the biggest surplus in American history. We created 22 million new jobs. And, you know, he got a very kind of graceful, lyrical, almost lilting sensibility. And he feels your pain. A little town called Hope.
Did you ever do these for them?
Yeah, I did it for him.
And?
Clinton loved it. He thought it was hysterical. At first I said, you know, somebody embarrassed me and they said, you know, Ben does a thing. And I was like, don't tell the president I imitate him. And
And he turned to me and he sort of said, well, what do you do? You do like a, what do? You do a Southern thing? You do like a, I feel your pain? That's your thing? Oh, you do well to be able to imitate me, son, kind of a thing. And so I did it, and he loved it. I mean, he literally slapped his knee. Time out. I'm gonna have to bust a little move on them Harvard honeys down the end of the bar.
Think of it as a salute from one professional charmer to another. In fact, most of Affleck's roles, he was a hero in Armageddon.
Tune in next week.
Have been about his edginess, his swagger.
People come and work at this firm for one reason, to become filthy rich. That's it.
Not everybody saw the smart, vulnerable guy inside, the one from the part of Cambridge that isn't Harvard.
I perennially felt like there was somebody else who knew how to deal with life in the world better than me. You know, there was always some, you know, good-looking, preppy kid who was like, you know, seemed to be more in charge than I felt.
And when you look in the mirror, what are you still shy about?
Well, I don't know. That's a hard question. I think what I did was I ended up developing another thing to put out there between me and the world. And when I look in the mirror, I think that that's what I'm shy about is kind of showing people who I feel like I really am, as opposed to, you know, putting on a face to meet the faces that you meet, you know.
It's a line from T.S. Eliot, a poem he loved back in high school.
I'm no great prophet, here's no great matter. I've seen the moment of my greatness flicker. I've seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker. And in short, I was afraid.
The mood grows reflective. It's a side of Affleck his girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow saw. And so she pushed him toward their new movie, Bounce. True or not true that Gwyneth called you about Bounce, and among other things said you should do this because you've done charming plenty, but it's time for you to go for something difficult.
Yeah, that's true. We had just broken up, and she said, you should do something like this. In some ways, I think she wanted other people to see the sides of me that she saw, you know? Or she knew were there. Maybe she got tired of having to explain why she went out with me, I don't know.
It's a great gift to give you.
It was. It was very generous. She's a very generous, very caring, empathetic person, you know. She would go a long way out of her way. There's people that she cared about.
What is it that you want?
Someone to say goodnight to. A last call of the day. I don't have a last call of the day.
The movie is a spare and subtle love story about the accidents that can carry you toward what matters in life. Ironically, as they were making the movie about falling in love, Hollywood's most beautiful and talked about couple had fallen out.
You know,
suddenly, the mood shifts again.
So it wasn't always simple, and it wasn't always one or the other, but we are not, you know, together. It's sad. It's kind of sad for me to see the movie now, because that's just.
She actually said that some of it is like us, but we didn't have a happy ending.
Yeah. That's why it's sad.
Who screwed up the most with you two?
Me.
Do you ever know what the other thing is that would make it work forever? Do you ever know what?
Do you? I'd love to find out. I don't know. Maybe we fool ourselves into thinking that the definition of success is is how much time it lasts, right? We go like, well, it's got to be forever, you know, instead of thinking, well, right now, it's great, or it was wonderful for this period of time.
How are you going to feel if you pick up a paper and she's absolutely committed to somebody else?
You know, I'll have mixed feelings, I suspect.
Mixed?
I'm trying to be opaque.
No kidding. So what happened?
Different senses of what was okay and what would work and what constituted compromise.
You know, your face changes so much when you talk about her. women sitting at home who analyze these things are going to say he's still so in love.
They are?
Yeah.
I don't know. But women sitting at home also do a lot of shopping at the Joan Rivers jewelry collection. So women sitting at home can't always be trusted.
So we're back out in the neighborhood with a leading man who can make you laugh. Hollywood star and local hero. A celebrity we may be just beginning to get to know.
I think by nature, my personality is very much a kind of like shoot the moon kind of go for it broke sort of. I guess that's again.
Does that worry you?
No, in fact, I take some comfort in that because I realize that it's not that big a deal to fail ultimately, and I'd rather fail trying to do something spectacular than fail being conservative. I mean, I suppose it means that I'll always be a little bit out there, you know, but I think that's okay.
Ben Affleck and Gwyneth Paltrow's new movie, Bounce, opens nationwide this Friday. When Primetime returns, they're already back counting votes by hand again in Florida tonight. Is this endgame for the Gore camp? Or what about the Bush camp? In a moment, we're going to go to Tallahassee to talk live with David Boies, Al Gore's super lawyer on the ground in Florida.
So I can order HBO, right?
Yes, sir. Actually, 7 of them.
So it's got a pretty clear picture then?
100% digital quality.
Football?
Up to 13 NFL games every Sunday if you want them.
I love you.
I know, sir.
Now get free professional installation when you buy a DirecTV system and sign up for Total Choice programming.
Hi.
Everyone knows what it feels like to be congested. That's why there are different Afra No Drip nasal sprays. Ordinary sprays drip. Afra No Drip targets nasal congestion and stays there for fast, powerful relief. New Afra No Drip nasal sprays.
Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. Love is in the air, love is in the air.
Looking good, babe.
Love is in the air.
Last night, Uncle Joe opened the Olive Garden menu, and right away he wanted their stuffed chicken parmigiana. It's a chicken breast stuffed with Italian cheeses, with pasta, and all this for $9.95. My uncle liked the price so much, he opened something he never opens. The Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family.
I'm so excited about this. You know how easy it is to take your home videos and turn them into movies? Listen to this. You get an iMac, of course. Get your digital video camera, hook it up, and start iMovie. They've got effects in there now. You can, you know, make it real fast. Ooh. Or get slow motion, make it dramatic. You can take a piece of music, put it under your footage, and all of a sudden, people are laughing, crying. I don't know, whatever you want. I've got cheesy ideas, but you'll do something creative that'll make you want to go, ooh, let's watch that again and again and again and again.
Around the world, mothers want to protect and nourish their children. So biotechnology researchers have developed golden rice. It will contain beta-carotene, a source of vitamin A. Golden rice could help prevent blindness and infection in millions of children. From medicine to agriculture, biotechnology is providing solutions that are improving lives today and could improve our world tomorrow.
Primetime Thursday, back on the story, and now always on, 24 hours a day. Visit our new website at abcnews.com.
Tomorrow, the quirky state in the middle of the drama. A closer look at Florida, the melting pot that will determine the next president. Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Tonight on Nightline, Florida's top court rules that manual recounts can proceed, but will the Secretary of State accept them? Our story tonight.
Then on PI, Kelsey Grammer, Stephen Weber, Ann Coulter, and The View's Lisa Ling know one thing. Gore may have the people.
Emotionally, I would never want to party with the Republic.
But Bush has the beer.
George will have a great White House kegger.
Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, tonight.
One thing we know at the new Heilig Myers, shoppers love sales. We all love sales. See what we mean? So here goes. Extra savings off our new low prices on all room groups. And save 21% on every recliner, chair, curio, entertainment center, and more. We call it occasional furniture. You'll call it 21% off. Hurry to the new Heilig Myers. It's all about you. And through this weekend only, it's all about 21% off. New Heilig Myers. It's all about you.
To the election, once again, all eyes will be on Florida again tomorrow with hand recounts back underway in Broward and Palm Beach counties. Earlier in our show, you heard Vice Presidential candidate Dick Cheney call those hand counts manipulative and untrustworthy. Now, the Democrats' turn. Joining us live from Tallahassee, David Boies, the Democrats' point man for legal action in Florida. Mr. Boies, good to have you back with us. We're getting to what may be something of an end game here. It is apparent that the Secretary of State of Florida intends to announce a result this weekend using the present 300-vote Bush lead plus the absentees, assuming that would be George Bush. Dick Cheney said, we will start a transition at that point, no matter that the hand counts are underway.
I would hope they wouldn't do that. I would hope the Secretary of State would abide by the court order, both Tuesday of this week from the lower court and from the Florida Supreme Court today. The courts have made very clear that Florida law requires manual counts when they're demanded, as they have been here, and that's the rule of the game.
But you don't have a court decision yet that says she has to count those votes.
That's exactly right. Well, we have one court decision, but we do not have a Florida Supreme Court decision. The Florida Supreme Court has not dealt with that issue in this case, but the courts have dealt with this issue in many other cases in the past. And in each case, they have held that the manual recount in Florida, just like Texas, is the right way to resolve these kinds of issues.
But if she brings down the curtain, to use a phrase that I heard you use earlier this week, if she brings down the curtain this weekend, isn't it going to be an awful lot harder for you to turn it around when she announces a result and says, I certify that?
I would hope she wouldn't do that, but if she does do that, it would be directly in violation of Judge Lewis's order. Judge Lewis ruled on Tuesday, and she never appealed this order, incidentally. The court ruled that she could not do that without a valid reason, and she has not come up with any valid reason for disregarding the will of the people. The votes have been cast, and Florida law requires that they be counted. And one thing that you've got to keep in mind is that every count so far has been a machine count. And Florida law, just like the law of many states, including Texas, provides that in a close election like this, there is a right to a manual hand count because that is the most accurate way. Now, you may agree or disagree with that, but that's the law. And what the courts are saying is that you can't change the rules of the game in the middle of the game.
Dick Cheney said on this broadcast, though, the ballots in Florida were designed for machine counts, unlike the kinds of ballots that are used in Texas, that you're talking about apples and oranges here when you try to compare Florida and Texas.
But the Texas law specifically talks about the same kind of ballots. They talk about looking at the light, they talk about chads, they talk about one corners and two corners. That's the Texas law. It's exactly the same kind of ballot, and the Texas statute says so. The second point is whether or not you agree with manual counts, that's what Florida statutory law provides for. That's the rule. Now, I happen to think, like most people, that that kind of ballot-by-ballot examination is more accurate. But whether you agree or disagree with that, the fact of the matter is that's what the law requires.
I know you say that you hope she does not do this, but is it your nightmare scenario that she does announce George Bush the winner this weekend while the hand counts continue?
Well, if she does that, then after the hand count is completed, as the court has ordered, we'll have to revisit that certification. If it turns out that the manual count demonstrates that Vice President Gore is the winner in Florida, as he is the winner outside of Florida, then obviously that certification is going to have to be changed. I think it is not fair to the American people to rush to judgment. It's only going to be a matter of a few days, and certainly having an accurate result is worth waiting a few days for.
All right, David Boies, I appreciate your being with us. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And you have a good night.
Our political analyst, George Stephanopoulos, is with us. Now, we are in this situation where we may have a result announced this weekend while these hand counts go on.
You are exactly right. Listen, there is only one or two ways this ends fast. If somehow tomorrow the overseas ballots comes in and Al Gore goes ahead, then it's over. George W. Bush has said he would abide by that. Or Palm Beach and Broward count the votes and Al Gore is still behind. Both those cases, it ends relatively quickly. But you hit the nail on the head. Very likely on Saturday, all indications are that Secretary Harris is going to certify George W. Bush the winner after the overseas ballots come in, while Broward and Palm Beach are still counting. And it's possible by Monday or Tuesday, Al Gore pulls ahead. In that case, you heard David Boies say, we're going to have to revisit that issue. What that means is that we're going to be in the courts for a long time, maybe even the United States Supreme Court.
But it really underscores how totally we are in uncharted waters here, that you could have a result being announced while some people still think they're making a meaningful count.
And what is Governor Bush going to do in that case? Many have said that perhaps he will come out on Saturday afternoon after the certification comes in and start to plan for the transition.
Dick Cheney said he would.
Very openly said he would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But two things are happening tomorrow which could affect that. First, Judge Lewis is going to bring his decision tomorrow on whether or not Secretary Harris has to consider the hand counts. Might not be a simple yes or no answer. He could punt and actually tell Secretary Harris, yes, you have to examine the counts, but you don't, it's still up to you whether or not you accept them. Then we're going to be back in the courts again.
Gives us fodder for the morning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we might as well just stay up and keep thinking. We'll be back.
Coming up after the Florida votes are counted, will the votes count? Is that cute little used car as good a buy as the salesman would have you believe? We'll help you be sure about that. And then Hosea Williams loses his fight with cancer. Nightside is next.
Hello, America, how are you?
When I eat good, I feel good.
Healthy Choice helps you feel good.
We're both feeling good.
Because eating right makes a difference. And now there are 14 new meals to help you feel good. Like Southwestern rice and beans, grilled chicken with fire-roasted tomato sauce, and sirloin tips in a mushroom and wine gravy. Delicious and nutritionally balanced. They help you feel good.
I feel great. I feel really good.
Oh, Healthy Choice. Feel good food.
Didn't make it home in time? Stanley Steamer gets out the toughest spots and odors.
With the holidays coming, call Stanley Steamer and welcome your guests with clean carpet.
Stanley Steamer, tough on dirt, gentle on carpet.
Which cleans better, the Braun Oral-B 3D or an ordinary toothbrush? The 3D pulsates deep between teeth so it efficiently removes plaque from even those hard-to-reach places. But an ordinary toothbrush, well, you know. The Braun Oral-B 3D, helping you have healthy teeth for life.
You can't live without water. Can you live without art? The Bold Look of Kohler.
Boom, boom. Bang, bang.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
A computer won't do Dad much good if it never gets out of the box. So now, when you buy a Gateway PC, you can also have it installed by us. Start with a Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Celeron processor for less than $23 a month and add on installation, orientation, or even training. Call 1-800-GATEWAY. Technology's great, but in Gateway country, people rule.
And that wraps it up for us tonight. We thank you for joining us. I'm Diane Sawyer. Good night to all of you. We're going to eat our spinach. Be back in the morning.
I'm Charles Gibson. We'll see you in the morning, and we'll see you next week. Until then, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
How many miles are really on that used car you're looking over? A report on rolling back the odometer and some sound advice on getting rid of stress.